Good day, class. So in today's discussion, we're going to talk about the lesson 2 of our unit 3 topic, which is all about our logical investigations. So from the title itself, so of course, this topic would really suggest for a comprehensive understanding about the concepts of logic and its application in real life. So let us start by asking these questions. How should we think? So in Bisaya pa, kung saan din nato paghuna-huna. Now, I know that you all have your own answers. So before tamo engage towards any nga question, let us read first the description that is written here. So, besides the ability to know and hold knowledge, the human mind can also boast of another feature, and that is the ability to connect ideas and knowledge. Now, that is one of the prominent feature of humans among other living things on earth, because humans are capable of thinking and connecting knowledge with ideas and applying its relevance into our real life. So, human beings cannot just know and think. So, dili lang tataman sa discovery of knowledge or acquiring of informations and fact, but we humans can also think logically. Now, unsa day pasabot anang logical thinking? So later on, ma-discover na to ang meaning about logical thinking and of course, its application in our daily life. Our logic and capacity to follow and make arguments has allowed us to be more analytic and creative with our endeavors. So, ang ato daw capability class to think analytically and creatively has allowed us to be a successful individual in the generation that we have now. In our daily lives, we are also governed by logic. So, in our daily living, of course, ginagamit po nato si logic. We utilize logic to organize our lives and be as efficient as we can. So, daghan kay application klase logic when it comes to human life. So in this lesson, we should talk about how the mind works logically, how logic can help with situations we find ourselves in, and how it aids us in analyzing the importance in our lives. So diri na lesson nato mahibalan kung unsa jud ka importante si logic and what are its relevance to human life and of course to our society. Ano importante man jud nga i-practice nato ang logical thinking towards sa atong community or towards dealing with other people ingana. So unsa data or unsa data dapat maghuna-huna, or because there are individuals who are, for example, mga fast learners. Tapos mayroon ding ibang students na has really or had hard time understanding some concepts, and that is how each of us varies or diyan tayo nagkakaiba. Now, another branch of philosophy that focuses on the human mind is logic. So, kining logic class is of course another branch ni siya of philosophy nga iyang gina-deal is all about our human mind, our mental processes or our cognitive abilities and so on. The traditional study of logic can be traced back to the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. So Aristotle, aside from its great contributions in the field of science, Aristotle also is considered as one of the greatest or one of those great philosophers nga nag-exist up until now or even in his own generation. So Aristotle is called as the father of logic. So sa iyahan na naka-attach ng yung particular description kining father of logic for having the first recorded study on the subject. So Aristotle was being called as the father of logic in the reason that he's the first person to study about logic. For him, logic is an organon. So para sa iya logic daw class is an organon, which in English terms is being translated as a tool or an instrument that the mind utilizes in order to arrive at the truth. So according to him, ang logic daw is a tool with which we human utilizes for us to arrive the truth. So mura siya device bali wherein by using this device maka-come up taog discovery or maka-unravel taog reality, or we can clarify things and come up with truthfulness. So for Aristotle, reason and logic should be the basis of our acceptance of ideas. So para sa iya yung emphasize na for a certain idea to be accepted, it should have been based with reason and logic. So para sa iya dako jud kayo og tabang si logic and reasoning or itong si reason para ma-accept ang isa ka idea or isa ka concept or kanang isa ka proposition. Some people appeal to authority, to power, to pity, or etc. But those appeals are invalid. So one should accept an idea simply because it is valid, true, sound. That is, because it is logical. Because there are just some people manggod class na nagadawat lang sa isa ka statement that this statement is true. It's because it was generated by a powerful person, or it was stated by, for example, the President of America, or kanang something nga kanang ma-amaze gud ang mga tao mo na makaingon sila nga ay tinuod yun kay nag-ingon ba itong ano sa America, or nag-ingon ba itong mga scientists sa America nga ingana daw ang COVID, or ingani daw ang mechanism sa COVID, so ingana siya. Now, there are those people also who try to persuade others to believe in their statement by kanang pagmamakaawa, kanagong grabe jud ang persuasion nga apil na lang pud ang naminaw sa isa ka or sa iyaha nga nagstorya maluoy gud siya. So murag nanay interference nga nahitabo kay in coming up with the truth. You should not consider your emotions. Instead, you should base the truthfulness of a certain idea according to the facts or evidences given. So, therefore, we should accept an idea because it is valid, true, sound, and that is because it is logical. So for example, you are walking around a park when you saw a man and a woman. The man's right arm is on the woman's shoulder. Based on this fact, one can proceed to an opinion that these two are a couple. However, upon a closer look, you have noticed that the man and the woman share some physical aspects or na ay certain angle or certain features sa ilang lawas na similar kayo sila. Like for example, they have the same eyes, the same complexion, and some other physical similarities. Through further observation and use of one's logic, we now proceed closer to the truth that these two may not be a couple, but siblings instead. Your opinion then would be different through the use of your logical mind. So, yung ana class ang application ni logical thinking sa reality. Because there are some situations that you are presented nga kanang wala good kay knowledge or wala kay knowledge sa isa ka butang, and you just base your perception upon the situation nga naa, which you can really observe or which you can really see. However, upon taking a deeper understanding or a deeper investigation, then diha na ka makakam up og unsa jud di ay ang kamatuuran sa isa ka butang. Now, this mainly relates to our previous lesson, especially on the part of justification, which is discussed by Ma'am Yao. So, we are now referring to a valid justification. Now, a certain statement is true if you are able to validate it or if you're able to justify or provide evidences and reason out. But how do we know if our justification is valid? Valid siya, sound, and logical. So, unsa di ang basis niya? Now, let's consider this statement. In this age of technology and information, there are also false claims disseminated across the globe. Yes, that is true. How can we really know which of them are true? What methods or tools could possibly help us become better thinkers? Bitaw, unsa jud ay atong gamiton or unsa jud atong i-employ na mga mental skills para maka-arrive jud ta always sa kamatuuran or dili ta ma-fall under falsehood or any superstitious belief. So, yung ana. So, the process of Aristotelian logic revolves around 3 step-by-step mental operations. So, first one, simple apprehension. Second one, judgment. And third one, reasoning. So, as we go along with the page here, or as we kanang padayon tag discuss ani na mga paragraph, we're gonna be discussing each of these mental operations and may bala na to kung usa jud ang meaning ani nila, which is really very important since mao man ni siya ang ginatawag na process of Aristotelian logic. So the first mental operations that we were going to discuss or tackle is the simple apprehension. Now, simple apprehension here is defined as the first logical process of the mind. It is the process of grasping an idea into the mind. So this means being able to hold a certain concept in one's mind. So in other words, simple apprehension class is the act of perceiving an object intellectually without affirming or denying anything concerning about it. So this means class na by just reading a simple statement or by just listening to a simple statement, you yourselves are already creating connections into your brain. And those ideas nga imong na-perceive as true or as kanang tinuod, then your brain would not really kanang question you or question about its existence, kanang naa dira or unsa purpose ana ano kabalo ka ana nga certain thing, but it is just there because maybe you have experienced this or maybe you have acquired this knowledge through your experiences, through your explorations or any other activities. Now let's consider this good example about simple apprehension. For example, you heard the word tree. Now, there is a certain picture that flashes in your mind. Bitaw no, for example, maingon ko nga, a tree has a green leaves with fruits in it. So therefore, kanang, by just hearing that statement, of course, I know that you're already forming that image into your brain. So na-form na siya sa inyohang huna-huna. And that's because you already know unsa ng kahoy or unsa ng tree or unsa ng fruits or unsa ng green color. So this means that your mind had apprehended the idea of a tree. So ni ano na siya, bali gidawat na niya ang idea sa tree or ang concept sa kung unsa man gani ang gi-state sa isa ka tao. However, if you hear the word bracacy, which is not a word in English language, even myself, wako kabalo unsa ng bracacy. So, by just reading here, pag-ingon or pagbasa pa lang nako bracacy, bitaw unsa ng bracacy? So, maski ako class, wala ako kasabot. So, wala ma-register sa akong hunang-huna. And thus, there will not be an idea that will come into your mind because your mind doesn't hold the concept of abracacy. So, wala tay personal encounter or wala tay personal knowledge kung usa dyan yung abracacy or if ever naaman gani mo, then good thing for you. But for me, wala dyan kung usa din ang abracacy. Nga na good. So, wala siya na-register dyan fully sa ako ang knowledge or sa ako ang cognition good, wala siya na ano jud, wala na ko na-discover ang iyang meaning. Now, since simple apprehension results into the mind holding an idea, these ideas become terms once we express them in language and put a label on them. So, since, for example, there is a statement that you already apprehended, so of course, or you already agreed upon without even questioning it, so of course, you'll be able to express them in language or you'll be able to relate them or to communicate them with other individual and of course, put a label on them or put a description, ing ana. So the second logical process of the mind is called judgment. So, judgment, the day of judgment. Now the process of judgment is to connect one idea to another. It asserts whether a certain concept is related to another concept. A judgment results into a proposition, which is a claim of something to be true. So judgment class, it is actually connecting one statement or one ideas with other ideas also. So let's consider the example here. All monkeys are brown. This statement contains two terms. So merong important na mga terms ang state ani na phrase or ani na sentence. The first one, or we have here, monkey and brown. So, mo ni siya ang two terms na gi-state sa statement or gi-emphasize sa statement. And it asserts that there is a connection between these two terms because by just, reading the statement na all monkeys are brown, of course, maka-generate yun ta nga both of these terms are actually connected with each other. So, that means that brown is the color of all monkeys. Also, it is a preposition because it claims something to be true. Now, always remember class, basta judgment gani, you're just trying to connect one idea with another. And when you claim that something is true about that certain idea or about that certain argument or statement, then you are suggesting a proposition. Always remember, it may not be true, proposition may not be true, but it is making a claim. So, mo na siya ang second mental operations according to Aristotelian logic. Now, the third process or third logical process of the mind is called reasoning. So, how kayo tani class? How kita mo reason out? Especially pag naata sa situation na kanagong kailangan po nato i-defend atong sarili, especially for example, may ana imong parents nga nga nandugay man ka na uli, unsa may rason sa ikadugay nimo sa eskwelahan ana. So of course, kita mo defend man jud tanong, manok nami gihuman man nami mga projects ana kay if dili ta mo reason out class, silence means yes. So therefore, basin mamali good ug huna-huna sa atong parents kung unsay ginabuhat nato sa school or sa any other na laag na atong ginabuhat. So yung ana, you need to reason out. You need to defend yourself, to state kung unsa jud ka matuuran nga nahitabo. So reasoning collects and connects propositions. So gina-collect ni reasoning, gina-connect tapos gina-collect ni reasoning ang mga propositions or those statements that claims to be true. In order to prove something to be real or to be true na po. So it is usually composed of three propositions. So reasoning is usually composed of three propositions or statements that claims to be true, and which contains a central topic, and that is called syllogism. So ang syllogism class, bali ano ni siya, it is an argument that has three propositions with a central topic. Now let's consider this example of syllogism. All monkeys are brown. Sulya is a monkey. Hence, Sulya is brown. So, mura gyapon siya good, same atong sa inductive or sa deductive arguments na siya statement and then or na ay premise 1 tapos na ay premise 2 and then na ay conclusion nga mahitabo or dapat na akay conclusion sa isa ka arguments basing also from those ideas or from those premises nga na state na og una. A syllogism, therefore, is a form of an argument. Okay. So, aside from deductive arguments or inductive arguments, na po daytay syllogism na form of argument, which attempts to prove the claims of proposition. So, bali ano ni siya class? Kining syllogism is also an argument who's trying to persuade the listener or the kanang sa tawag ng the other individual nga ang certain na proposition or nga ang certain statements are true or wala siya ay falsehood or basta tinuod siya makatotohanan. Basta ang yaha, ang syllogism ang good, it always attempts to prove the claims of propositions. So, baligi, ginaano lang niya, gina-generalize lang niya kung unsa man gani ang pasabot ni propositions. Even with these processes, one cannot have the guarantee that he or she would become infallible. So, even class, if i-employ na to itong 3 mental processes of Aristotelian logic, dili gyapon ta subject for kanang dili gyapon ta subject for dili gyapon ta subject for not making mistakes because infallible it means incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. So that means even if we all aim to develop the skills, at some point or at some stage in our life, we can always make mistakes, even in the statements that we make or even in how we come up with a certain conclusion or a certain generalization. However, we can minimize our mistakes in reasoning and be more critical of the statements that we encounter. So that is the good thing for us human because aside from logical thinking that we also have this critical thinking. Now this critical thinking will allow us to weigh evidences and evaluate the truthfulness of a certain statement or of a certain idea. So these processes, when carefully followed, or if we're able to develop these 3 mental processes as proposed by Aristotelian logic, then and of course this critical thinking, then it would always result to a more analytical and sharper mind because all of these mental processes man good class, it will generally help you to sharpen your way of thinking or kanang usaon gud mo pag-critique ang isa ka idea or pag-weigh in ang isa ka mga mga statements, and this is very applicable especially if you're going for a research investigations or any other endeavors nga imuhang i-pursue when you reach in college or when you were already working. So nga na class, very important jud kayo ni si or kining mga steps na gi-suggest ni Aristotle, this mental processes. So that ends our discussion for today, and may you all have a blissful day. Goodbye, class.